Welcome to Let's Talk. I'm your host, Stephanie Anthony, and we're in the midst of a good time. We're about to speak with Dr. Paulette Gray Rivera, and she's got a lot of alphabets behind her name: MD, MPN, NMBA. Yep, she's got it all. But what she's best known for, believe it or not, is that before she became regional medical director and regional administrator here in Louisiana, covering East and West Baton Rouge, East and West Feliciana Parish, Ascension, Naperville, and Point Capee, she was track star at McKinley C. School, the Big Blue Machine. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here, and you're right. I'm representing McKinley High School. I'm so excited to have this opportunity to talk to you today.
It's so great to have you with us on Let's Talk. And listen, I always ask this question, put you on the spot, make you think twice. Do you remember your school's alma mater?
I remember, but I will say disclaimer: I cannot sing it on radio, but I do remember, and in fact I remember our principal at the time corrected us because we had a line wrong. We were singing one line wrong for my entire tenure there. So, but yes, Hell McKinley High. I do remember that.
Oh goodness. Well, our own Pastor Cat breaks out with the alma mater whenever she can. And she also does the little fist movement with it.
Yes.
But she never told us that there was a line wrong in it. So we're going to have to we're going to have to Google it and then challenge her. Well, back in the day, you were an excellent student, but also an athlete. And you guys were on winning ladies 4x4.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I will
brag
a lot with very, very few people. We had 4 to 5 ladies at any one time that seemed to be running all events. I will say those were some of the most beautiful times of my life, just being able to be with such talented young women. And of course, 2 of them were your daughters.
Yeah.
And have become lifetime friends of mine. But it was really, I think a lesson that I carried forth throughout my whole life, which is just doing as much as you can with very few resources. And in fact, being triumphant while you're being under-resourced. And so, just having the passion that existed on that team and the camaraderie, the sisterhood was really, I think, most of what we needed. Plus, of course, the skills.
Yeah. Man, you all had a unique situation. I think you ran without a coach for a while.
We did. We ran without for a while. We didn't even really have, official uniforms.
Right.
Jumpers were sprinting, sprinters were jumping. Those of us who did the short sprints also were doing the long sprints. I mean, we did a lot with so few people. But just some of the most talented women I've ever competed with. So it was a really wonderful experience. And I took that experience to college with me. I ran track in college too.
Oh, now wait, tell us about now here you were, and you were a family of how many kids?
There were 4 children, and they were all raised by my mother. Just an extraordinary pillar of a person.
Single woman, and was she an educator back then?
You know what? My mother actually did most of what she did, which is the high school education. When my youngest brother started college, my mother started college at
Wow.
Southern. So I think she just had really just a fear of God, first of all, just a foundation and what her duty was as a parent. And she told us when we were young that she prayed and asked God that if he would provide for her, and keep us safe, that she would do everything she could to instill in us a love of God. And that's what she did. And she let us know from the beginning that your job is to go to school and to be an excellent student. That's all you need to worry about. And so she was serious about it, and we treated it like it was a career. Going to school and being good students. So, and I admire her for that. I remember, I have images of her up late at night, just, trying to figure out bills and just really, and just I have an image of her praying and just constantly trying to figure out how to make things work for us. And I admire her so much. I'm so thankful for everything that she taught us. But yes,
and all of you all went to college, huh?
We all went to college. My oldest brother teaches physics at a college in Chicago. My youngest brother is a judge in Detroit, and my sister has a master's degree in English literature. And yes, ma'am. And I'm a physician, so we attribute that all to my mother.
Now, just from what you said, we know that, you didn't, you weren't born with a silver spoon in your mouth. So I want to ask you, you mentioned that you went to school and you ran track. What school did? Tell us a little bit about that. Your educational part.
The short version is I thought I was going to be an Olympian in track. I had these lofty dreams, and so I was very focused on running track in college. I did win a full scholarship for track, and at the same time, I had a full academic scholarship. And the academic scholarship stipulated that I stay in the state of Louisiana in order to have that full academic scholarship. So just in looking at where I could actually compete and be on a team, I ended up at Louisiana Tech, North Louisiana.
What the heck? They used to say that all the time. What the heck, Louisiana Tech?
Southern wasn't really giving out scholarships like that, and LSU, you really did have to be at the Olympian level. So, and I was really also looking at where I could go to just have the best chance at a strong science program and run track. Together. And I was recruited by Louisiana Tech, by their track coach. So that's where I went.
All right. And what did you major in?
I majored in animal biology. I minored in chemistry and music. And from there,
music?
Yes.
What kind of music? Voice?
Vocal music, yes.
All right. Who knew? I've never heard you sing.
Well, that's because I'm solidly a background singer.
Solidly? You a bitch.
But I do love music, and, was really thankful to have that diverse education. And I believe, I have to fact check this, but I think I might have been the first student at Louisiana Tech to go to Johns Hopkins, and I also went there on a full scholarship for medical school. So just blessings upon blessings.
Wow. Who would have thought? And
yes,
so where did you do your residency?
I did my residency in Chicago. If you've ever seen that show ER, that show was really a depiction of Cook County Hospital in Chicago. Okay. And so that's where I did my residency. It was a hospital called Cook County and also a hospital called Providence. And Providence is historically known for being the first hospital in Chicago in which Black patients could attend. So Black physicians were there. It was founded by the Black community. So really historic hospital. And like I said, Cook County, everyone associates that with ER.
And it's okay. All right.
I actually did my last 2 years of residency, I did that at University of Illinois at Chicago. So really, really diverse experience. I was able to train in many different clinic settings in the prison system. So just a really deep experience I was able to gain there.
Now, how did you work your way back to Louisiana? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, daughters usually go where their mothers are eventually, right?
We hope.
So, my mother is still here, and after training in Chicago, I went back to Baltimore, where Johns Hopkins is, and I went back there. I worked in Baltimore and DC area for a while. Eventually back to Chicago, so I was back and forth a bit. I did some overseas work.
Wait, that's right, because you had a blog, so to speak, to explain you were in the motherland.
I was in the motherland. I was in Senegal at one point, and I will tell you that was probably the most robust part of my education in terms of really seeing how medicine works without all the bells and whistles. When you don't have the fancy technology and fully staffed hospitals. So I was in a small community, and I was working with physicians there under an organization called Peace Care, which worked closely with Peace Corps. Mm-hmm. And I just really got to see just expertise at a whole nother level. Physicians just with the ability to lay on hands and diagnose without all the fancy equipment, and really just seeing how they worked really impressed upon me as a physician, how I could improve my skill set. So it's a great experience. But after all of that, after spending time in Senegal, some time in Ghana, a little time in India, Costa Rica, we were actually in Costa Rica. I was married at that point when the pandemic ensued, and that's the point at which we had to decide where we would settle. And as I said, that mother draw is pretty strong. So, we had.
You say pandemic, where my mama? Where my mama? Husband, come on. I don't care what you doing. Mm-hmm. We got that. Is he from Louisiana?
No, my husband's from Omaha.
Oh my goodness, what a culture shock.
We were either going to go back to Chicago, back to the Baltimore, D.C. area, or settle in Louisiana. So Louisiana has become our, I would say, new home, but for me, it's being back home.
Yes, that is, what a story. Look, I was remembering when you did your blog, you were talking about delivering babies in this village and how the assistant would be, completely clad in white, pristine, with the head wrap, everything going, and would come out looking like pure gold, and you would be like, oh, I can't.
I mean, just and it was interesting because the experience, the laboring experience there was almost a silent experience. Very silent, very, very reverential. Just the culture, completely different. So, and I remember in particular, there was a birth that was very difficult. The baby was breech, so completely turned around, buttocks coming out first. Yeah. And the mom was so calm, and the team was so calm, and they just expertly got that baby out. So, just watching that level of skill was phenomenal.
Listen, you've got me intrigued. I'm going to be waiting for the book. Dr. Paulette tells it all around the globe.
Well, I'll have to see if I can add that to my skill set at some point.
Listen, you are a busy, busy woman. Now, you came back to Baton Rouge after the onset of COVID, and you worked in a hospital setting, correct?
Well, I initially went to the clinic setting. I was working for the Lake in Port Allen, and then I started working in the Scotlandville area in a clinic there, just, primary care setting. Mm-hmm. And it's really, you're right. It was right at the point at which the pandemic was really coming to a head. Vaccines were arriving, so a very, very busy, sometimes confusing, difficult time that we've gone through in this state. And I'm actually happy that we've arrived at the point we are now. And now we have a new set of challenges. But yeah, right in the thick of the pandemic.
I want to ask you a little bit about that. Here in the grassroots spectrum, we have, we've gone through a lot. The time before vaccine, was scary. It was a lot of confusing information. We were kind of, just functioning by the seat of our pants. And then we started to get things together. We got a vaccine. And soon as we got ourselves and our children and our grandchildren in the routine of mask wearing and hand sanitizing and social distancing, then there became this giant backlash. And then it seems like we were going back and forth. On one hand, they were saying this doesn't help and that doesn't help, and so we find ourselves at odds. Dr. Fauci wasn't the only one on the firing line, but in families, we have these people that are like, oh, you don't have nothing to worry about. It's just a flu. But the body count was like Vietnam, surpassed Vietnam, surpassed World War II. And now here we are in 2022. The younger parents are always talking about, I'll be glad when this over, I'll be glad when this over. And for those of us who came up in the 50s and the 60s, we're like, it's like polio. This is not something, a virus is not gone in a heartbeat. It takes a lot to be on the other side, and then it's never like it used to be.
You're right. And that's really the sentinel question. Is there another side? And if so, how does that look? Can we turn the page back to go where we were? And, the overriding sentiment, I think, from the experts on this is that most likely not. That, you probably heard the new normal phrase tossed around. But we most likely will have to make a significant adjustment, even going further. And I think part of the reason is because if we just look at our state as a whole, we are operating on a few different cadences. We have the health lane, the healthcare lane, the public health lane, and then we have the political lane, and then we have, the community not otherwise specified. And so each entity has its own opinions about what we should be doing related to the pandemic, how fast we should move, how slow we should go, which direction we should go. And we really do need synergism for us to come out of this pandemic not too much further scathed. We need that. But either way, the damage has been done. We've lost a tremendous amount of life. Loved ones, friends have been lost. And now I think we have to start looking at how we can solidly come out of this with lessons learned so that this is not repeated.
Well, we're getting tools. The test was good, and then they came up with the rapid test. And for some parents, their students can get a test, a rapid test. They can go by the school, I guess it is, and get a test. And for those of us who are out in the field in the greater community, we are at the point where we can apply for tests. You can get it by mail. Can you tell us a little bit about where we are? I know that you're serving several parishes. Where we is the test important in the great scheme of things? And if so, how can we get our hands on? Because it's not just you test today and 2 years from now you still good. You know, how's this stuff work?
Yeah, so let me just answer the last question first.
Okay.
So the test, you're right, there are multiple ways to get them. So you mentioned how students can get tested within schools. As far as at-home test kits, there's a whitehouse.gov initiative for receiving test kits, and I'm sure we've all heard about that. The website is covidtest.gov, and if you go on that site, you can sign up to get at least 4 tests for your household. That's a one-shot deal. And then through insurance companies, including Medicaid and Medicare now.
Now, I got to stop you right there.
Okay.
You said, because I need to make clarity. You said there are 4 tests per household. Let me explain that a little bit.
I should say there are 2 test kits per household.
Yeah, two tests in a kit, in a box.
Right. Now, the tests that are being sent out right now are eye health tests. And so there are 2 boxes and there are 2 tests per box. So it's 4 tests overall. And you can't open the box and 2 different individuals can use the 2 tests within the box. But there are 2 kits, 4 tests overall. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now, let me say this other thing to that. They're not good forever. It's got, I've received mine, in the mail, and it's like milk or anything else. It's got an expiration date on it. I think the ones that I got are good until December 2022. But I just as a thing, I want you to say, don't put it up in the cabinet, thinking I use this next year. No ma'am, no sir. You get it, write that date down so that you can pass it on to someone else, or and that's how we do things. We share everything. And don't let it go bad.
You're right. That's a good point. And so, at the expiration that's printed on the box, the test expired the last month of that, the last day of that month. So it is important, I think, to keep that in the forefront. And if someone suspects they're infected, by exposure or by symptoms, it's important to test. Now, the question about, where that sits in our toolkit, it is just one tool, because we can't test ourselves out of the pandemic. It can help to direct the person to tell them whether they should leave their home, whether they should socialize in a certain setting. But really, if you think about it, it's usually going to be an after the fact thing, because it takes some time from being exposed to the virus to even the virus replicating enough inside the body to the test being able to pick up that positive. And in those few days, which could be anywhere from 4 to 5 days, a person who's exposed to COVID and has that virus in their body could have infected several people. So
if you really, my mom's in a nursing home that they have had outbreak after outbreak. And they'll have a sign on the door that says, there's COVID in the building. Enter at your own risk. Do not enter if you have a fever, and they name off some things. But I did not realize that if you are exposed, it might be 5 days before your symptoms are, before the test could pick up whether or not you've been infected.
Yes, and and the tests are being, I think the tests that are manufactured are really high quality, and every test isn't the same, but the tests do pick up a small amount of virus depending on which test you're using. But there is still that lag time, and there is still that potential for the virus to be replicating at a rate when there's enough virus to be transmitted to someone else, but not quite enough to cause symptoms in the person who's transmitting it. And even if the symptoms are there, they might be so mild that the person doesn't even realize they're infected. And that's one thing we're seeing with Omicron, is that it's transmitted so much easier than Delta, but just less severe symptoms. And the reason it's transmitted so much easier is because it likes to replicate in the nasal passages in the throat, whereas Delta, preferred deep down in the lungs. So if you think about it, just talking, you can aerosol microscopic particles, just talking, a light sneeze, a light cough, and transmit Omicron so much easier.
Dr. Paulette, I gotta say this, because people used to joke all the time. They'd say it, don't spray it. And people, you really, I didn't think about that again until they were saying, wear a mask, social distance. And then I realized, there are people that I know that spray it all the time.
Yes, and that's another reason why the mask needs to be worn properly too, covering the nose and the mouth, because those particles can be aerosol from the nose or the mouth. So yes, and that brings up the importance of masking as well. So that's what I mean when I say layered strategies, multiple tools. But it's a catch-22 because people have not been getting as sick with Delta. I think people also are discounting the seriousness of where we are in the pandemic now.
You're saying it. Listen, everywhere you go, people are just walking around, like it's summertime and the living is easy. They're just walking around, no mask, no nothing. And of course, there are folks like me that have some underlying health issues. I don't want to get sick.
And you bring up a good point there, because it's not just about each individual. It really is about the community. And I think if we would adopt a more community-minded view, we might come out of this a little bit faster. Because whereas, one person might be healthy, pillar of health, feel like they need no mask, maybe even have had COVID and survived it and feel great. The next person that you're standing next to or talking to, their immune system may not be so strong. And we really are potentially putting each other at risk depending on what tools we're using in terms of masking it, and even if we're vaccinated. So that's, of course, I'm going to shout from the mountaintops about the importance of vaccinations, and we could talk about that probably for another hour. But
I'm hoping that I can put you on the spot and ask you if you would please join us for Let's Talk at least once a month.
Okay.
And let's talk about some of the issues that face our communities. Your job has you all over, east, west, up, down. And so I don't know if you're mainly educating as a regional administrator, or if you're sending out the test. What you doing over there?
Well, the main thing I'm doing in the last 6 weeks or so, and new to this job, is trying to understand what is within my realm to do. So there's a lot of potential for public health work. There's a lot to learn just about the Department of Health itself. So right now I'm just going through the nuts and bolts of learning my staff, adding on more staff, learning each parish. So,
wait, skirt, you hired?
Reaching out to each parish and really trying to establish a presence there. But specifically as it relates to the pandemic, we do get some test kits from the federal government. So we've been trying to push those out to each parish. We've mostly been using the Department of Homeland Security to identify targets for that. We've also been supporting vaccine events throughout the parishes. So if you can decide, hey, I would like to have a community vaccine event. And at that point, they would reach out to us. We would give them a registration form. And from there, we find a vaccine team and we support the event. We advertise it. So in partnership with Bring Back Louisiana.
So
there's a lot of pandemic front. And then there's a lot of other work I can tell you about. But I would be happy to join you once a month. I think we could delve into the science of COVID-19. We can, make it, very ear friendly.
Yes.
But talk about the different topics and the different aspects that are impacting the community.
Oh, that would be absolutely wonderful. So let me see if I'm going to thank you for committing to that. I'll put a round of applause. And I want to make sure that I understand that, let's say I'm president of a sorority. We could, I'm not. I've never been in a sorority. That's just fictional. For all of you sisters out there that's like, oh no, she's not no Delta. Listen, I just want you actually could plan an event in which you're doing um, COVID vaccine boosters, or having tests to distribute.
Yes.
And
yes,
how?
And what we're asking people to do is to really, if they're thinking about planning events, to really make it as open as possible and not have it just be a closed event for your own organization.
Oh no, I wasn't thinking that. But
so let's say we're asking people for a 2-week lead time as well. So let's say if you said, okay, 2 weeks from now, I would like to have an event, Department of Health. Then we would say, okay, fill out this form, and we'd be asking you, indoors or outdoors? Do you need interpreters? How many people do you think will come? And then we will gather the team to vaccinate for your event, and we will provide some at-home test kits to distribute at the event as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, tell me this: is there how do we contact that department, at the Department of Health that's in charge of events?
Well, actually, being that this is,
fresh, 6 weeks old, yeah,
will be a direct contact to me. I'm totally okay with that. You can email me.
Okay.
I'll give you the email. It's Paulette.ria@la.gov, and that's spelled PAULETTE.RIV, like Victor, ERIA @la.gov. And you just let us know, hey, we'd like to have an event, and we activate our process from there.
Now, you pronounce your married name again?
Now, this is about to be controversial. You're going to get me in trouble.
Okay. I was like, wait, what did she say? That don't sound like no Louisiana pronunciation.
I pronounce it phonetically Riveria. But my family, they will say Rivera.
Yeah. Like Geraldo, huh?
Yes. There's a little history there we can share the next time.
All right. But it's Paulette.Rivera, Rivera, that's how you say it, @la.gov.
Yes, ma'am. That's it.
All right.
Now, I will say the only caveat with that is, as the governor is deciding on the emergency status for the state, as he's further deciding on that after March 16th, some of the vaccination events may have to ramp down. We're not sure, because right now we have the assistance of the National Guard helping us with vaccine events.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a dynamic process. We're constantly looking at it, but we are endeavoring to get as many people vaccinated against COVID-19 as possible. So right now we're welcoming the solicitations, please, for events.
We know that we're in a world of flux, and as we hear of wars and rumors of wars, we know that they are calling upon the National Guard and others to take care of all kinds of things that in the past they weren't. We know that when you're doing an event that involves shots, you got to have skilled people. You can't just have Sister Bertha over there trying to give out shots.
Well, we promise we won't send Sister Bertha. But even if we don't have the National Guard, we do have some other teams. The Oshner has a team, Our Lady of the Lake. We have some nurse teams. And then we have a few other private teams who are helping with this effort. We just envision that if the emergency order falls away altogether, there just may not be as much interest. So I'm just looking at that. I'm gauging it, and I hope there will be. Well, we may have to just pivot, reformat, and have more centralized events. But at this point, again, I encourage anyone who would like to host an event and thinks they have, a good number of people who might patronize the event, to please let us know so we can see how we can support it.
Thank you so much. I hope you don't mind me calling you Dr. Paulette, but
that's usually a default for some people because the last name is tricky. So
right. Right. And before we leave, I understand that you are now a parent yourself.
Yes, I am. I have 2 young boys, 4 and 6 years old. Wow. And they are the coolest little kids.
Of course.
The most energetic little boys ever. And I'm very, very blessed and very thankful to have them, as well as my husband. Of course, I couldn't have them without him.
That's right.
So very for that.
Well, look, you're a chick that's done it all, from running to singing, background, to now heading up a crucial arena in the medical field. We thank you for all your work, and we know it's not easy, and I know that you must have an S upon your chest.
Well, I tell you what, I have the strength of God bolster me forward and really support a family and friends, and I count you in that group, and I thank you for this opportunity, and I thank you for being just such a great example throughout my young adulthood of what community service looks like. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness, you're going to make me cry. God bless you and keep you, and let's make all our conversations useful. Till next time. We thank you for joining us for Let's Talk.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. You are the best.
Oh, you know what? I'm a nervous wreck.
No, indeed.